is. Okay. Alright, I'm back. Ah. Alright. Now with that bit of palate cleanser out of the way and getting the refresh on some drinks, I thought about getting maybe some finger eating snacks as well, but kind of skimmed out on that because I've already took it in a while. Alright. Is it just going to automatically start the video? I hope it doesn't. Let's see. Yeah.
This is my...
There we go. Okay. Alright. Today... I don't think I need to start with that. But now we're going to be moving on to reacting to another video. One by the internet's most famous, like, I'm going to tell you a story type of guy. You know, campfire storyteller on the YouTube side of things. The Fat Electrician. This guy, I've seen a lot of his content, both, like, literally and also reacted to plenty of times before. He seems like a great guy. He's got great stories to tell. I've learned things from this guy that I didn't think were possible, but they were. And God, the stuff that I learned is some of the most gnarliest things I've ever heard. Underground cheese bunkers, the most gangster politician to ever exist. The simple fact that we had a movies inspired by a veteran who wanted to jump out of planes into Nazi-controlled territory and not get lice as his primary concern. This is the fucking guy who told us those stories. And let me tell you, I gotta say, out of all of the channels that I've seen, this is the one guy that I think of when I go to when I'm just like, I feel like delving down a random fucking rabbit hole for no reason. And that, to me, is just the embodiment of the Fat Electrician. Alright, anyway, sorry for the slight pause there for a second. That was my folks coming into my room to bring me something. Anyways. Okay, anyways. So. Yeah, so without further ado, because I just lost my train of thought. The Fat Electrician, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are reacting to a video of his. It's one of his newer ones that came out 3 weeks ago. It is American's Samurai, the 442nd Infantry, most decorated unit of WW2. Make sure to, and since I haven't subscribed to him on this channel yet, make sure to both like, subscribe, because this guy really does create some pretty wild and interesting videos. I sometimes wonder where he collects these damn things, but, you know, he just goes online, he just starts searching them up, I guess. I have no idea. It's, but they're all pretty wacky stories, but they're all grounded most of the time. He does simplify certain things for the purposes of telling an interesting story. But, you know, like, a lot of the things that he says is, for the most part, it's mostly true. You know, it's like bricky level content when it comes to real life stories, only, you know, he's the, how do I put this? He has a penchant for the theatrics. He has a penchant for the flair. He has the nice heaping helping bricky level of just like, you know, memery and flavor to the overall discussion of the story and how that story came about. But anyways, enough of my ramblings, because I've done enough of those already. Let us delve into it. So, let us react.
This is my third attempt in the last year at making this video, but it's one of those ones that you have to get right. Today we're talking about America's Samurai, the Nisei, the second-generation Japanese Americans that comprise the 442nd Infantry Regiment and the 100th Infantry Battalion, aka the Purple Heart Battalion. Ladies and gentlemen, in World War II, America did what is, in my opinion, one of the most disgusting things that the American government has ever done. They signed an executive order suspending all of the constitutional rights of Japanese Americans and then forced over 120,000 American citizens into an internment camp for the duration of World War II for no other reason than they had Japanese ancestry. Despite that, the sons of these Japanese Americans not only volunteered to fight for America in World War II, they demanded and petitioned for the opportunity to do so. And not only did they fight, they became one of the most effective and decorated combat units in American history. And we're gonna get into it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Sundays. It's food for dogs. Isn't that right, Mushu? All right. Okay. Calm down. Anyways, Sundays for Dogs is dog food that's made with a bunch of human ingredients like, actual meat and not, ground up cartilage and pig dicks. The food actually looks different. Like, it actually looks like beef jerky. It doesn't smell like a bunch of dehydrated dog food. It's air dried. It's made here in America. Mushu loves it, and it's pretty much the only thing he'll eat now. Nope. It's like all the other fancy dog foods with none of the downsides, right? You don't have to open a can every time you go to feed your dog. You don't have to stick this shit inside your refrigerator, and you can get it as a subscription service, so it just keeps showing up to your house, because at least for me, every time I had dog food on my grocery shopping list, I would always forget, then I had to make a trip just for dog food. So it's nice to have it just show up at the house. So if you want to give Sundays a try, I'm gonna have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins on December 7th, 1941, when the Imperial Japanese attack America at Pearl Harbor. Okay, everybody knows what the attack on Pearl Harbor is, but what almost
the captions I had to turn on every fucking video because I had them manually set to offline when I traded the tabs.
American history. During the second wave of the attack at Pearl Harbor, America was able to get some of their fighter planes up in the air and begin fighting back. Some of these American fighter planes were obviously shooting at the Japanese fighter planes, and one of these Japanese Zeros ends up getting shot in its fuel tank and leaks out a bunch of its fuel. The Imperial Japanese pilot Suganori Nishikaichi does the only thing he can do in that situation. He makes an emergency landing on what he believes to be a small uninhabited Hawaiian island known as Niihau. However, he was incorrect. The island actually had 135 inhabitants, 133 of which were native Hawaiians, and then there was one Japanese couple, Yoshi and Irene Harada. Now, Niihau is like 140 miles away from Pearl Harbor, so the residents of the island had no idea that Japan was actually attacking America, so when he first made this emergency landing, everybody was happy to help this guy. They thought he was just, a pilot from a friendly country that needed their help. Then, within a couple of hours, word had reached Niihau that America was under attack by the Japanese, at which point the Hawaiians did the appropriate thing. They took him as their prisoner, took away his guns, locked him up, and they were going to hold him for the American government to come and get him.
All right, let me ask you this one time. What master do you serve?
What master do I serve? What am I supposed to say, Jesus?
But for whatever reason, Yoshi and Irene decided that they were sympathetic towards this Japanese pilot, so much so that they were actually going to help him break out of jail, arm him, and try to help him escape.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
This plan would ultimately be thwarted by the Hawaiians, primarily a man by the name of Ben Kanahele, who was a World War I veteran and rancher. When Ben Kanahele went to stop Suganori from escaping, Suganori shot him 3 times, at which point Ben Kanahele proceeds to pick Suganori up and throw him at a stone wall. His wife then bashes him in the head with a rock, while Ben pulls out his hunting knife and slits his throat. Which I cannot stress to you enough is the most Polynesian American shit I have ever heard in my entire life. Homie gets shot 3 times, then proceeds to pick up the armed gunman and throw him at a wall like he's the Incredible Hulk. After that, Yoshi, the Japanese man that was trying to help him escape, would also wind up dead, and his wife Irene would end up being incarcerated for the rest of World War II. So
this story is already starting off great. It's really fucked up. First, we talk about the Japanese internment camps that we put them in as a result of World War II, and our never-ending, continuous issue with racial relations that now have exploded into something that was looking like it was improving to now going right back down to status quo to, yeah, this crazy shit. So, this is an interesting story, but how does this tie into the 442nd Infantry?
So Ben Kanahele saves the day. Hooray, that's good. Bad news, this is a really, really bad look for pretty much all Japanese Americans, right? There was 2 Japanese Americans present, and they elected to side with the Imperial Japanese that were attacking America. And this winds up being one of the main catalysts and excuses for the American government.
Oh, okay, I was missing the context there. So Shigenori? I can't even say his name now. I'm butchering his name. My apologies. But anyways, He's a literal Japanese native. Wasn't actually an American Japanese pilot. That's what I was thinking this was going, but no, it was not.
Government discriminating against American citizens that had Japanese ancestry. By January 1942, the Hawaiian National Guard released all of its soldiers that had Japanese ancestry and basically just kicked them out of the army. Which is kind of a big deal because at this point in time, like 40% of the Hawaiian population actually had Japanese ancestry. Then by February 19th, 1942, FDR would sign Executive Order 9066, which effectively suspended all of the constitutional rights of any Japanese American, ordered them to sell their homes, sell their businesses for a much lower value than they were actually worth, and then they were supposed to report to an internment camp for the duration of World War II. With a single pen stroke, 120,000 American citizens lost all of their constitutional rights and went from being a full-fledged American to a prisoner like that. Now, like I already said, I think that is one.
Yeah, bureaucracy, ladies and gentlemen, that is how everything dies. It's when bureaucrats get involved and when we have a bunch of old people making executive decisions on behalf of most people. It is an interesting story, isn't it? How, again, time and time again, we let politicians make the decisions on behalf of most Americans, even though this country is supposed to be for the rights and liberties of most Americans. Granted, the Japanese at this time, 120,000, doesn't seem like a big number, right? It is a small number when compared to the overall scale of America, even as far back as this day and age. But you still have to agree that incarcerating 120,000 people is just a bad look. It's also just bad optically. It also just is fucked up. It's also just kind of a certain level and layer of fucked up. It's like, there's no way you're going to swing this in the history books. Like, oh yeah, we went to war with these people, and we have citizens from this nation who are now citizens of this country. What should we do with them? Oh, well, we should imprison them. Bing, bang, zoom. There you go. It's the most dumbest, boneheaded decision you could have made. Granted, there might have been reasons behind it that supported this idea. Like, for example, like, because we have native Japanese Americans, it makes sense that if the enemy wanted to, they could send in people disguised as native Japanese Americans to essentially pose as regular, again, Japanese citizens to just spy on and potentially do subterfuge and heinous shit to Americans and the American government. Which, yeah, that's certainly a problem. That could be that certainly has interesting quandaries to it. But is it worth incarcerating 120,000 people for it? Maybe not. Probably not. Depends on how effective and targeted this attack is by the Japanese and how well they train their agents. But as long as your border control is on par, you don't have to worry about this type of thing. Which, if you know our history with border control, it's piss fucking poor. Now that I think about it, maybe we might have actually had a point. Oh no, am I siding with the American government on the fact that maybe it was all right to incarcerate 120,000 Japanese Native Americans just because? Just because. And some probably even migrated from Japan. It's fine just because we're terrible at actually managing our border control? Shit. It's amazing how everything plays into itself, doesn't it? But that is the funny thing about American politics. That is the dog and pony show. That is the literal clown show that is American politics and bureaucracy. America is just a massive fucking hypocrite half of the time. Like, we are all about freedom and liberty until we're not. It really is a funny thing. I still like this country. I still like its values. I still like the things that it's about. And while it's not perfect 100% of the time, it is, for the most part, usually on the side of the people. And the people usually stick up for the little guy. And until that ever changes, which it's starting to seem like it's starting to have some tuggle wars here and there nowadays, I definitely like the fact that America is very much liberty and freedom first most of the time, at least on paper. And that's great. until they stab me in the back. But yeah, it's for the most part, that's pretty fucking great. The ideas, great. I wish the politicians could exercise them a hell of a lot more than even the actual American citizens would, as well as some of its more vocal Americans. But anyways, the point is, yeah, it's more vocal patriots. But yeah, it's for the most part, America is America. That's just how it is. Speaking as an American, you know, it is what it is. We're all fucking morons here. All right, we ranked 30th place on the global scale of education. All right, we're all technically a bunch of dumbasses. All right, not gonna lie. It is what it is. Just gotta accept it as fact and just move on. All right. We're not nearly as smart, and we're certainly not at all self-aware enough these days to really give too much of a shit about how we manage certain things, especially with the fucking politicians, because they're old, they're crusty, they're practically on their way out. They have little to no care about the actual people of this country. They're kind of just there just to suck up taxes so they can abuse the taxes to buy stupid shit, such as maybe fund their medical equipments that they need in order to maintain their life support systems. But, you know, that's neither here or there. I don't care for politicians. I don't care for the government. I don't care for a lot of things. This is why I am a registered libertarian. It is, and as much as I don't really vibe with my own party, I would prefer my own ability and my own way of doing things than rely on the government most of the time, ideally. But granted, we do need laws and we do need ways to be able to maintain ourselves, to maintain our own existences. So there you go.
One of the most disgusting things the American government has ever done. However, I do have to get kind of sidetracked because I have a crazy conspiracy theory about this, and it's going to get weird, so bear with me.
Oh boy.
Get real weird with it. Meanwhile, block the wind. I'm going to roast this bone.
Jesus Christ.
I think that this inspired Star Wars, and just hear me out. The Jedi and the Sith, you know, the guys with the lightsabers, are clearly inspired by samurai. You know, they have the robes, they have the same garb, they have swords, that's their primary weapon. They're just space samurai, that's all it is. You've got the Jedi, which are the good ones, and then you've got the Sith, which are the bad ones, similar to Japanese people. You've got the Imperial Japanese, which are the bad ones, and then you have the American Japanese, which are the good ones. But then Chancellor Palpatine comes along. He is the leader of the Republic, the president, so to speak. Also worth noting, he's an elderly guy that nobody ever sees standing up. He's always sitting down.
I'm too weak. Oh, don't kill me.
And he issues an order to get rid of all the Jedi. He gets rid of all the good guys just like that. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Chubby Electron guy's reaching too far. He's lost his mind. Potentially, okay? But here's the linchpin in the entire argument, right? When Emperor Palpatine got rid of the Jedi, he got rid of the good guys. He executed Order 66. When FDR got rid of all the Japanese Americans, he signed Executive Order 9066. I mean, what the fuck are the odds, right?
They're on to me, dude.
That is conspiracy theory level crafting. That is pop culture theory crafting right there. That is truly some big brain shit. And now I cannot look at that the same way since he brought it up. That's actually mind blowing. He might be onto something. He might be onto something. You know, as a Star Wars fan, he may very well be onto something. You know, like they are basically space wizard warrior monks, you know, and he did take direct inspiration from Japanese samurai films when designing the Jedi and what they're about and getting a better idea and understanding of who they are. So you know what? He might be onto something. He may very well be onto something. That is some big brain shit.
Dude, those guys are sharp as nails up there. You can't put anything past them.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyways, 120,000 Japanese American citizens.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get sidetracked plenty of times in this video.
America, shitty, awful, horrible, but it's what happened. In Hawaii, however, things went a little bit different because a significant portion of the Hawaiian population was Japanese and they couldn't throw all of them in a concentration camp. Otherwise, it would crash the entire Hawaiian economy. So a lot of them got to kind of live borderline normal lives. So a lot of the Japanese Americans that were previously serving in the National Guard that got released from duty end up forming what they called the Varsity Victory Volunteers, and they petitioned the Hawaiian governor and they were like, hey, look, I understand I have a Japanese ancestry, but I'm not Japanese. I'm an American. I understand you're not going to let me fight and have a gun, but I still want to help with this war effort any way I can because this is my home and I want to fight for it. And the Hawaiian governor ends up letting them form this volunteer group. And essentially, they just start doing any manual labor jobs that they can do that's going to help with the war effort. They're stringing out concertina wire, they're digging ditches, they're pouring roads, they're pouring airstrips, they're doing anything and everything that gets asked of them. And this goes on for months. And then by June of 1942, the government's like, okay, I get it. You guys are loyal to America. We're going to go ahead. We're going to bring you back into the army, but you're going to be in a segregated all Japanese unit being led by white officers. You're going to be known as the 100th Infantry Battalion. So they take 1,500 of these young Japanese-American men that are second-generation Americans, also known as Nisei, and they ship them off to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, which is completely redundant because all of them had already been in the Hawaiian National Guard, and they'd already gone through Army basic training, but that's where they send them to go through it again, and they do it.
Done, drill sergeant? Why did you put that weapon together so quickly, Go?
You told me to, drill sergeant.
And while they're there, the Nisei continue to prove that they are 1,000% committed to America, despite the fact that America has given them every reason to not be. And they prove it not with just their general dedication to the task, but while they're actually there, the Army secretly sends in psychologists inside of their command structure to evaluate them, to see if they're lying, to see if they're actually dedicated to America. And all of the psychologists are like, yeah, these guys are 100% legit. They mean it when they say they're here to fight for America. On top of that, they go above and beyond when 5 Nisei end up getting awarded the Soldier's Medal because there was some civilians that went out on a frozen lake and the ice shattered and they were going to drown, and these young Nisei went out and saved these civilians. In addition to that, 26 of them volunteered to go be bait for attack dogs when America was trying to train dogs to be able to sniff out Japanese people for the Pacific Theater. They were literally...
This can't be stressed enough. This really cannot be stressed enough. That is... They did the most, right, when it comes to proving their loyalty to America. But that just speaks to the level of lows that America's willing to go to subject people to when it comes to basically taking a gift horse in the mouth, right? You already got these guys, you already have these soldiers. They're already saying they would fight for America, and they prove that both in basic training and on the fact that they take psychology tests, which is already pushing the boundaries a little bit here. Just basically stating, yeah, they're exemplary. They're basically patriots. There really is no qualms with these people whatsoever about working with America or fighting for America. They're truly all about America. And then it goes from this to then like, oh yeah, and then we'll have them do all the grunt work, and then we'll make them even become guinea pigs so we could train our attack dogs to basically sniff out Japanese people. It's like, I can understand the utility in one of these things, but I don't really like the approach they took with this. Like, everything about this is awful. It's just awful. Like, no self-respecting human being should be subjected to this level of just discrimination. And not just that, they shouldn't be subjected to this level of bullshit. It's just like, you've proven time and time again, just even with our own bullshit conditions, that yes, you are indeed, in fact, patriots. But we're going to continue to treat you like you're second-class citizens, despite the fact that you're fighting for us. It's like, the fuck? Again, maybe I can understand attack dogs need to understand how to, how to sniff out the enemy, so to speak, but why didn't you just take captured Japanese officers and Imperial soldiers and just train them by sniffing them out specifically? I don't think Japanese natives to America are going to have a similar smell or even dietary consumption level of behavior, or just even type, right, of smell that is indicative to what the dogs are going to be expecting to smell when they go fight Imperial Japanese. That doesn't make any fucking sense when you really stop to think about it. So what you're essentially doing is that you're training these dogs to fight an enemy that sounds similar to, but is a bit more vague. It's a bit more like it's not as clear cut as smelling another potentially Japanese soldier who they might confuse as the enemy. And then when you go into screaming, to sick them, You know, like they may just veer in the other direction, attack the nearest Japanese American soldier, and then you're just left wondering with, you know, with your fucking dick in your hand, just wondering what the fuck happened. It's like, no, the enemy's right over there, dog. It's right over there. Go sick them. And then they continue to go sick the other Japanese, the other Japanese soldier. Jesus Christ, it's this is dumb. This is just dumb. It is dumb. God damn, is it dumb. Man, were things so much different back in the day.
Doing anything and everything that was asked of them, regardless of how shitty of a job it was. And somewhere along the way, it becomes clear to the chain of command, like, okay, these guys are legit. We're going to give them guns and we're going to send them off into combat. But we're going to make sure that we send them off into the European theater. We're not going to send them into the Japanese theater for a multitude of reasons. One, if they get caught as Japanese Americans fighting against Japan, the Japanese are going to absolutely torture them to death, and it's going to be horrible. So,
Oh, so they were that considerate. Yeah, I think the real reason is just because they didn't want any confusion between American allies and soldiers to basically be like, we got Japanese fighting for us, and we're fighting the Japanese. Try not to shoot. Let's try not to kill each other by accident. They probably wanted to avoid that issue. They probably also wanted to avoid the other issue, right? Which is like, you know, a lot of vitriol, racism, you know, a lot of tension would be in the barracks of any forts that they happen to be stationed in. That would just be an unequivocal fact of reality. So, yeah, fighting on the European front against the Nazis seemed to be the best decision of the two.
A, we're going to protect them in that fashion, but B, we also don't want Japanese Americans really participating in the Pacific theater in a combat role, because if the American soldiers that aren't Japanese get accustomed to seeing Japanese guys in an American uniform, eventually the Japanese could figure out like, hey, we're going to start taking uniforms off of dead GIs, we're going to dress up as Americans, infiltrate their ranks, and then wreak havoc behind friendly lines.
Just be honest right now. How confident are we that we're going to be able to know who's who, right? Like,
I mean, that's also a fair point.
it's going to be the Spider-Man meme. Like.
So at this point, they send him off to Camp Shelby, Mississippi
The
for
Spider-Man meme.
training, and then FDR announces that he's going to form an even larger all-Japanese Nisei regiment, the 442nd. Now, the American government is hoping to get 4,500 volunteers to be in the 442nd Infantry Regiment, which is kind of a big ask from a community of people that you've just taken all of their civil rights away and then thrown them in a prison. And not only do they end up getting 4,500 volunteers, they get over 10,000, which is absolutely insane, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you incarcerated my entire family for no other reason than the color of their skin and then asked me to go fight in a world war for you, I would probably tell you to go fuck yourself. So all 10,000 of these dudes are far bigger men than me. Speaking of bigger men than me, one of the volunteers is a young man by the name of Daniel Inouye, who...
Yeah, to be fair, Japanese people are very principled. They'll make decisions if they know it benefits not just their family, but also just, you know, it's all about, it's kind of like honor, you know, like it's all about like doing what's right, regardless of the task being given. And so if you know how to word it right, it's not that terrible of an ask or even that big of an ask if you can, you know, if you know what you're doing and you know what you're saying, which is even more twisted if you really stop to think about that line of logic. But, you know, that is probably how the government thought about it, and it is what it is. You know, like, fucking Americans, the American government, I would not be surprised if they took any amount of lows to get the job done. We need more Japanese recruits in the military. Let's appeal to their sense of honor.
Who is currently in med school trying to be a doctor. When Pearl Harbor happened, he ran to the nearest Blue Cross aid station and started working around the clock treating the wounded. And he's been volunteering at aid stations and hospitals for months while also going to med school ever since Pearl Harbor happened. So when he goes to the draft board tells him like, no, you're too valuable where you're at. You're going to go off and become a doctor. On top of that, you're already doing a bunch of work for us stateside. We don't want to send you off to combat. So he's like, okay, I'll be right back. He leaves, drops out of med school, tells tells the hospital he's not coming back to help anymore, and then goes back to the draft board and is like, I just quit my job and I dropped out of med school. Fucking send me. So they end up sending him, and he ships off with the rest of the 442nd Infantry Regiment for basic training 2 days later. While the 442nd ship off to get their training started, the 100th Infantry Battalion is finishing up their advanced training at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. They are then sent off to North Africa, and they get there in September of 1943. So they land in Oran, which is a major port city in Algeria, and from there they get attached to the 34th Infantry Division, aka the Red Bulls, in particular the 133rd Infantry Regiment, aka the Iron Men, which, cool part, that's my old unit. Not so cool part, the commander is kind of a dickhead because when he has his greeting speech to the 100th Infantry Battalion, he openly refers to them as the guinea pigs from Pearl Harbor. And not that I'm trying to defend Commander Mark Clark for calling them guinea pigs, I'm absolutely not. But to put it into a little bit of context, a lot of people have a lot of doubts that the Nisei soldiers are going to be effective on the battlefield, okay? The average Nisei soldier at this point in time was between 5'4" and 5'6" and weighed somewhere between 120 and 140 pounds. And they just got attached to the 34th Infantry Division, which is based out of the Midwest, okay? The 34th Infantry Division, by and large today, but especially back then, was almost nothing but 185-pound corn-fed white boys with machine guns that grew up on a farm. So they're looking at these dudes with a smaller stature like, what do you guys really think you're going to do on this battlefield? Why are you even here?
Look at that. He's making me cry.
If the Nisei want respect, they're going to have to prove themselves. And from the second they step foot in combat, that's exactly what they did, because they started kicking ass right outside of Salerno, Italy, when they first saw combat. For their first week of combat, they drove the Germans back 15 miles per day, every single day. These guys were fearless on the battlefield. In a matter of a couple of months, they had completely changed the opinions of absolutely everybody that encountered them. Mark Clark, the same commander that referred to them as guinea pigs, sent a note up the chain of command saying, hey, when that 442nd Infantry Regiment's done training, I want them too. These Nisei fighters are fucking awesome. When the Des Moines Register, the biggest newspaper back home in Iowa, wrote an article being critical of the Nisei being attached to the 34th Infantry Division, the members of the 34th Infantry Division wrote a letter to their editor. And I quote, "We're Iowa boys of the 34th Division. We have fought side by side with the boys of Japanese descent. We know plenty of folks that call themselves Americans that have done much less to prove they give a hang about their country. There have been times when these Japanese, as you call them, have saved many lives, only because they have proven themselves better Americans than some that were not of Japanese descent."
Damn. That's some baller-ass language right there. That is some serious fire. And they're absolutely right. It's true. Like, they proved themselves pretty well. Even the commander, who was initially referring to them as guinea pigs, was just like, oh my god, these guinea pigs, man. You know, like, they're probably not going to last for very long. They don't weigh very much. They're not tall enough. They don't seem very imposing. And then they get out there on the battlefield. They kick the ass. They kick the quote-unquote ass. And then, you know, he just kind of turns around and just kind of changes his tune. He's just like, okay, all right. Yeah, I would like these guys in my unit. I would like to be in command of these guys. And, you know, that's absolutely something that's actually really fucking awesome about the American military, is that you will come in and you will be given shits for anything that is easily and readily discernibly wrong about you. But then the moment you start showing your competence, the moment you start proving yourself, is the moment when the tune changes and they're just like, yo, this guy is actually fucking good. Can I actually get this guy in my unit? Like, it's a level of respect and admiration that is only recognizable when you have done the most. And that's the part about the underdog story that people love so much, is that when you have people who actually are seen as the underdogs, the people who don't seem like they could do the thing, who can't make it, who don't seem like they could make the cut, suddenly be able to make the cut and actually prove that they can kick as much ass as everybody else. It's like, damn, I want these people in my unit. And the fact that they have the gall, right, to basically sit there and be like, we have proven that we are more fucking American than even actual quote-unquote Americans themselves, is very fucking fine cake to be served on that platter. It is like, you cannot. They literally handed the asses of other American soldiers to them on a silver platter. They took that cake and they were eating it, and they were eating it gloriously. That is some crazy shit that he just spewed. Man. But yeah, a lot. That's an interesting. This is an interesting story. I can't wait to see what else he's going to say about this, because I know for a fact that if I try to go and research this later, there's going to be some parts about it that, yeah, it's going to be not exactly as probably as was stated, but it's going to be, for the most part, it's all going to be very true, including the quotes. You will find quotes like this all the time.
So not only are the Nisei of the 100th Infantry beating the Nazis, they're also winning over hearts and minds left and right, and they're just getting warmed up.
Nice.
All right, by January of 1944, the 100th and the rest of the Allied forces have advanced through North Africa, and they have come up to the German Gustav Line. The Gustav Line is effectively the line in the sand that Germany has drawn, where they are not going to let the Allied forces advance past this point. It is heavily fortified, they have the high ground, they have all the advantages, and they are going to fight tooth and nail to not let Allied forces penetrate through this line into Europe. And one of the most vital areas of the Gustav Line is where the 100th Infantry is at. It's at Monte Cassino. Cassino is a small town, and then above it, on a humongous hill overlooking the town, is an old monastery that the Germans have turned into a massive fortress. And not only that, they went and chopped down all the trees on the hills and the ground in front of the monastery, knocked down all the buildings, so there's absolutely nothing to provide cover or concealment in case they assault. So you're pretty much running through an open field uphill into German machine gun fire if you try to take this position, and that's exactly what America is going to do anyways, because it's the only option. And because the 100th Infantry, which I'm now going to refer to by their nickname, the One Puka Puka, because it's easier for me to say, has developed a reputation for being both fearless and willing to take on any challenge, they are selected to lead the first assault on Monte Cassino. January 17th, 1944 at midnight, Alpha and Charlie Company of the One Puka Puka are going to take off, advance up this hill. They fight all the way up this hill and make it to the outer stone walls of this monastery, where they get pinned down and they continue to fight all night long. They're taking heavy casualties, they're running out of ammunition, it is straight up not a good time, they need more ammo. But now it's broad daylight out, so they're gonna have to send in reinforcements. So they send in Bravo Company of the One Puka Puka. But if they go out in broad daylight up this hill with no cover, they're gonna get absolutely mowed down, so they drop a bunch of smoke. Bravo Company starts advancing through the smoke, and then the wind shifts and blows all the smoke away, and they get just utterly destroyed. Of the 187 men of Bravo Company, only 14 of them end up making it to the wall. After taking that many casualties and running out of ammunition and having fought all night already, they are finally ordered to withdraw. A couple of weeks later, the Allied forces launch another major attack on Monte Cassino and the Gustav Line. This time, the One Puka Puka is ordered to take Castle Hill, a neighboring hill to the monastery that's of vital importance to be able to cut off support. The Nisei actually managed to fight their way up the hill and take the top of the hill, and they managed to hold it for 4 straight days, fighting their asses off. But then eventually the flanks of the 34th Infantry end up collapsing, and they're about to get completely surrounded and stuck on top of this hill, at which point they are ordered to withdraw again. By this point, the 100th Infantry Battalion has lost 50% of their men, and they are ordered to the rear, where they can recuperate and pick up reinforcements to replenish their ranks. People start referring to them as the Purple Heart Battalion and the Little Men of Iron, a play on the 133rd Infantry Regiment's Iron Men nickname. After a brief recuperation, they are then sent to a different spot on the Gustav Line near Anzio, and this spot of the line is essentially World War I-esque warfare. Each team has their trench, and there's just no man's land in between. For 2 months straight, all they do is sit inside their trenches and their foxholes. They fight all night and they sleep all day. The One Puka Puka starts referring to it as Dracula days. They sleep during the day, they draw blood at night. While the One Puka Puka is there, there is a third major attack on Monte Cassino by other Allied forces that also fails. At this point, the chain of command's getting restless, they're pissed, they need to break through the German Gustav Line, and eventually they come to the conclusion, fuck it, we're just gonna pick a point where we're gonna attack, and we're gonna hit that singular point along the line with absolutely everything we've got. The problem is, the Germans have massive tank units in the area too, and they need to know where those tank units are, because if they decide to attack at a singular point, and that's the point where there's a bunch of German tanks, it's not gonna go that great for the Allied forces. So they need to figure this out, otherwise this is gonna be a humongous gamble. At this point, a member of the One Puka Puka steps forward and goes to the chain of command because he's got an idea, and that man is Lieutenant Young Oak Kim. And Young Oak Kim is already a complete badass. He's already earned a Silver Star and a Purple Heart, and he's coming to the chain of command with this crazy idea. But what's most interesting about Young Oak Kim is he's one of the very few people in the One Puka Puka that's not Japanese. And that's because he's an officer, and typically the officers were white men, but in Young Oak Kim's case, he was Korean. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, the racial tensions between Japanese people and Koreans during World War II was pretty high, considering the Japanese had invaded Korea and were committing atrocities there. Because of this, prior to deploying with the 1 Puka Puka, the chain of command pulled Young Oak Kim aside and they were like, hey, we understand that Japan is invading Korea. There's racial tensions between Japanese and Korean people. If you want, we can give you different orders and have you attached to a different unit. To which Young Oak Kim replied, and I quote, there are no Japanese nor Koreans here. We're Americans and we're fighting for the same cause. So Young Oak Kim is just a complete badass.
What a boss.
And he goes to the chain of command and he's like, look, you need somebody to go behind enemy lines and figure out where these tank units are. Here's my plan. You guys keep attacking at night with these major formations. It's obvious. They know we're coming at night. Why don't you send me and one other guy behind enemy lines in broad daylight? I will sneak back there. I will capture a German soldier, drag him back. We can interrogate him and figure out where these tank units are, and then we'll know where to attack.
Serious?
Okay, now right out of the gate, that's kind of a stupid idea, right? You're really going to go behind no man's land, capture an enemy soldier, drag him back without getting caught and killed. But the Allied forces are desperate, so they're like, you know what? It might work. And if it works, it's not that stupid. They give him the green light and he sets off to do it. May 16th, Lieutenant Kim and PFC Irving Akahoshi crawl through no man's land through an open wheat field in broad daylight, crawl all the way behind enemy lines where they find a German unit that had been up all night manning their machine guns. They then stalk them further behind enemy lines and watch them as they eat dinner, breakfast, whatever they're eating at this point in time. Watch them eat and then fall asleep. And then when two dudes go to, be the guards, they stalk them and then they end up sitting there and waiting till they fall asleep. And they wake them up by shoving their guns in their mouths so they can't scream. Kim and Akahoshi then take their 2 German prisoners, smuggle them back through no man's land, behind friendly lines, turn the prisoners over, they get interrogated, they gather the intel as to where the German tank units are, and define the battle plans for the entire Allied advance. 48 hours later, after setting off on his mission, the Allied force.
Damn. And the scariest part about that is that they could have taken guys who were completely just not in the know about unit placements, among other things. These could have been these are more than likely just everyday grunts. But I guess depending on how jam-packed these units are, they probably know where all the other units are stationed regardless. So it makes sense on paper to maybe want to do this. But still, they were taking a bit of a gamble, abducting someone just to interrogate them and ask where certain unit placements are on this fort. And my god, did it pay off. Holy shit. That is crazy. That would have gone completely disastrously for them if they had taken the wrong person and he didn't know jack shit.
Forces launched their attack in Monte Cassino Falls on May 18th. Lieutenant Young Oak Kim is then awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest award in the American military. And as he's getting that pinned on his chest, Commander Mark Clark looks down and sees his first lieutenant rank, and then points over to a captain nearby and is like, you, Mayor. Captain approaches, he rips the captain rank off of this guy and pins Lieutenant Young Oak Kim as a captain as well. Cutting back to the rest of the 1 Puka Puka over at Anzio, they also coordinated the attack with the 4th Battle of Monte Cassino, so that if Monte Cassino fell, they were also going to launch their offensive, hopefully driving the Germans back, so that they broke the Gustav line in 2 locations. That way, they could advance forward and in and either crush the Germans in the middle, or the Germans would be forced to retreat. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And not only that, the 1 Puka Puka was the lead element of the Anzio breakout. So now the Allied forces are chasing the Germans as they advance towards Rome, and the 1 Puka Puka is out front. And as they get near Rome, they're like 15 miles outside of Rome. They are going to be the first Americans to set foot in a major European capital as the Allied forces capture it. They are ordered to stand down as they peel off the side of the road and just kind of hang out in the ditch, and they don't know what's going on. And then other American units start catching up, and then they keep marching, and they keep marching into Rome. And now the 1 Puka Puka is not the first into Rome, and it dawns on them, they pulled us off to the side because they didn't want a bunch of Japanese dudes being the first Americans to capture a major European capital. They never even got to set foot in Rome. They were ordered to go link up with the new Nisei unit, the 442nd Infantry Regiment, and they would be absorbed into that unit now instead. From here, the 1 Puka Puka still kind of retained its identity as the 100th Infantry Battalion, but they are just now one of 3 battalions inside of the 442nd Infantry Regiment. And their new unit slogan is one of the best and most famous slogans in military history: "Go for broke," which is a
That's where that term comes from. That's amazing. Also, that's fucked up. That's just petty. That last bit is just fucking petty. Like, just because they were going to be the first ones to step into Rome to be able to take it, that's just petty. Like, these guys have never brought race into it even once. In fact, they're fucking the lieutenant who became a captain was just like, when asked if he would step down from being in the 100th infantry, was just like, hey, we could send you somewhere else. We know that the Japanese are attacking Korea right now. Maybe it's going to create some bad blood between you and the other Japanese among you. Maybe we could station you somewhere else. And he's just like, nah, there are no Koreans. There are no Japanese. Only Americans. And yet, even in spite of this, these motherfuckers were still thinking about race. Even now. See, this is the stupidest part about this whole thing. This is why I think the wokeism bullshit, why all of this stuff is so laughably petty, so irritatingly stupid. It's like, the only people who see race is you. The only people who care about race is you. All right? The moment you have to stop and be like, hey, doesn't it bother you that this and this is happening because of this and this reason? It's just like, no. I mean, like, if they're not clearly and outright, annoyed by it, then then they don't care. Nobody cares. All right? The only person who seems to care is you. And until they start saying, hey, this is kind of fucked up, that's when you should care. But no. That is not what happens. Instead, race is a big component in the way that certain people make decisions when you're not the race of which it concerns. That is how this works. All right? And when it came to back in the day, racism was still a big thing. Like, this is around the 1940s, the whole civil rights movement was still very much a thing that was probably, I don't even remember exactly when the civil rights movement took place in particular, but I believe it took place around the 40s. But it was essentially still a new thing that was happening. America was still racist. They were still racially focused. And so it makes sense that this would be a problem in this context, in this day and age. But still, man, this is still fucked up. This is still fucked up. And the saddest part is that you still see instances like this even now. Like, only instead it's done for the good of the people who it is trampling upon. Isn't that just the best twist of that knife? It is, we're doing this for you. We're doing this because we care about you, because it'll make you better. It'll make you feel better. It's uplifting you, all right? We're saving you from being downtrodden, from being animals, savages. Yeah, it doesn't sound very good when it comes into that context now, does it? But that's exactly how these people think. They think that they are doing you a solid, when all they're really doing is just saying, fuck you, you can't get anything done unless we give you the tools to do it. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, I'm tired of this. Yeah, I'm tired of this shit. It's just dumb. This shit is always dumb. All right? Don't do it. Stop thinking about race. Stop thinking about this. Stop thinking about some stupid fuck shit. Just, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, who fucking cares? Like, it's really just a question of, like, can you get the job done? Great. Get the job done. And then when it comes to petty shit like this, it's like, this shouldn't even be a question. All right? You're soldiers. You're already on your way there. You're close enough. Take the fucking fort. Take Rome and just fucking relax. It is all you need to do for the rest of the war effort, right? Just take Rome, relax, really bask in this achievement. No. These people were fucking petty, and they were just like, we're going to have you guys sit on the side, and we're just going to let these American troops come in that are white, predominantly, and take Rome instead. So that way, it's white people taking Rome, and not Japanese or Koreans or whatever the hell taking Rome. And it's like, that's fucked up. You know how fucked this whole situation is just fucked. It's so dumb. It's laughably petty. Just laughably.
Hawaiian slang term that basically means I'm going all in. I'm pushing all my chips into the table, because that's exactly how these guys felt. They're all in this shitty situation where their former homeland is attacking them and their new home seemingly doesn't want them. So they're picking their side and they're going all in. From here, the 442nd is ordered to head north and take over a town called Suvareto, and this is going to be the first major military operation that they get to conduct by themselves. This is the ultimate point that they get to prove themselves, where they can say, we did that alone and nobody else helped. And they do it with surgical precision. They end up taking the 2nd and 3rd battalions of the 442nd Infantry Regiment, and they attack the front of the town, and then they send the 1st Battalion, the 1 Puka Puka, around the backside to flank their retreat. Now, 2nd and 3rd Battalion, this is the first time they've seen combat. These guys are green. They just got out of training. So the Germans actually end up launching a semi-successful counterattack, but the 1 Puka Puka, 1st Battalion, sees it happening, and they instantly, without orders, adjust, go through, and they flank the Germans from the side, completely crushing them and taking over the entire town. From here, the 34th Infantry Division continues to advance deeper into Europe, and the 442nd alongside them is credited with over 1,100 confirmed kills and capturing 331 German prisoners of war. They then come up on another German defensive line that the Germans dug themselves in, called Hill 40, which they end up nicknaming Little Casino because of how hard the Germans resisted, and the town of Castanella. 442nd leads the assault on Little Casino because, like it or not, they are now pretty much America's premier fighting force when the situation is running uphill into enemy gunfire and winning anyways. They battle the Germans for 3 days straight and end up taking Hill 140, aka Little Casino, which is ironic because their entire motto is about gambling big and going for broke, and every single time they manage to win.
Oh no! I'm ruined!
From here, the 442nd goes on R&R for a little while. Then they get called back in. They are going to go into France, and they are getting detached from the 34th Infantry Division, and they are getting reattached to the 36th Infantry Division out of Texas. They travel 500 miles by foot and rail into France. They link up with the Texans, and they go back into battle. Now, combat from here, the terrain's completely different. They're in the Vosges Mountains. This combat is brutal. They're in heavily wooded forests, and every time they have to take a hill with Germans on top of it, the Germans retreat, run down the hill, run right up another hill, and then they have to fight up the high ground again. It's absolutely miserable. And the first thing they need to do is they need to take over a town called Broyers, and in order to do that, they have to take over all the hills surrounding the town. There's 4 big ones, A, B, C, and D. The 442nd is in charge of taking over all the hills, while the rest of the 36th Infantry goes in and takes over the town. 442nd goes to work, they do their thing, they run uphill into German machine gun fire, take the hills anyways on A, B, and C. But on D, the Germans are putting up a hell of a fight. This battle goes on for hours. It's just a seesaw battle of they drive up the hill, they get driven back down, they drive up, they get driven back down. It is yard by yard, brutal combat. They're taking heavy casualties. There's finally a lull in the battle. There's not a wave going up. And normally, all the combat they've been experienced to at this time, the Germans have been pretty respectful of the rules of war, right? When you're not launching an attack, you send out the medics go out there, they pick up the casualties, they pick up the dead, they bring them back, they get everybody taken care of. You extend the enemy the same courtesy. That's usually how it's gone at this point. But now the Germans are getting desperate because D-Day has already happened. Shit is hitting the fan, and they are no longer playing by the rules. The 442nd doesn't know that, so they send the medics out. The medics go, they lay out the litter, they grab a guy that's been shot, still alive, probably gonna survive. His name's Abe Ohama. They get him on the litter and they start carrying him back, and then the Germans open up on the medics and the wounded with machine gun fire. Abe Ohama, while he was on the litter, was struck again and immediately killed. Seeing this, the rest of the 442nd, unprompted, without orders, pissed off, gets on their feet and charges the hill while screaming, takes the entire hill, killing 50 Germans and capturing another 7 as POWs.
God damn. That is some seriously metal shit. And you know what? That is just straight, that is just fucking, that is just raw, just fuck it energy. You have to have serious cojones. You have to have some serious balls to be looking at that shit and just charge it all at once. And you know, to be fair to their credit, that is some bullshit tactics they pulled. They've been respectful in the engagements of combat thus far, but the fact that they were willing to shoot the wounded and the medics just because they were losing is fucking petty, And that pettiness is what drove them to get so goddamn pissed off that they pulled out a W out of the sheer fucking ferocity of the fact that they were just pissed. That is amazing. And you know what? Kudos to them. That is some bitch behavior. I would not appreciate that shit at all either. As soon as I saw those kind of tactics, my first reaction would be to pull off tactics nearly just as petty. No, not these guys. They are literally like, how fucking dare you? And through sheer gumption, like Kiryu Kazuma from fucking Yakuza, they just charged full fucking Dragon of Dojima level energy into the fucking fields of fire and pulled out that W. That must have been some serious shit. That is crazy. They were really channeling that inner ki or spirit that time. Man, oh man. That is the funniest thing about a lot of Japanese history, cultures, and traditions. It's often the spirit that wins the day, and they tend to rely on that heavily in a lot of the foundations of their cultures and among other things. And even their fiction tends to pick this as well. Like, it's more so about training the mind as well as the body. And in that moment, they were just on fucking point. They were just like, I have the sound mind and the sound body now. Fuck the gunfire. Fuck the noise. They fucked with our guys. They shot them while we were too busy licking our wounds, while our fucking backs were turned, while we were currently down, and they just proceeded to kick us. Let us show them a courtesy that can only be described as unbridled fury. And they gave it to them. Oh my god, they gave it to them. That shit is epic.
442nd has just conducted what is very reminiscent of a Japanese bonsai charge, and it's practice that they're going to need for later. From here, the rest of the 36th Infantry goes in, they take over Bruyères, and the 442nd renames Hill D Ohama's Hill.
The Lost
At this
Battalion.
point, the 442nd's been fighting nonstop for weeks on end, so they're finally sent back to the rear for R&R. And the second they get there, it's like 2 a.m. in the morning. They immediately get told there's an emergency. They got to turn back around and head back to the front line. The commander of the 36th Infantry, General Dahlquist, somehow got placed in charge of an entire infantry division and had never actually been in combat. In addition to that, men that served underneath him said he seemed to care more about being the first unit into Germany than he did about actually taking care of his guys and keeping them alive. These factors would culminate and come to a head on October 24th, 1944, when he would order the 1st Battalion of the 141st Infantry Regiment to overextend into German lines, and they would then be engulfed and completely surrounded by an entire German division. To put that into perspective, if you don't know military unit sizes, that's about 300 men surrounded by about 6,000. So while the 442nd is making their way back to the front lines, General Dahlquist orders the 1st and 2nd Battalion of the 141st Infantry to go in and save their buddies. They go, they try fighting, they end up getting pushed back. And here's the kicker. The Germans just think that the Americans are trying to break through the line. They don't know that the Americans are freaking out because there's an entire battalion surrounded. They have no idea that 1st Battalion is up above them on a ridge. But from the American perspective, they think obviously the Germans know that. So they're like, oh shit, we can't punch through the line to go save them. We better start airdropping in ammunition, food, and water so they can stay up on that ridge and fight as long as possible. So they go and try to airdrop a bunch of supplies to them. The airdrop gets caught by the wind and goes off course, and then the Germans are like, wait a minute, why the fuck are the Americans airdropping supplies to us? Oh shit, we have an entire battalion surrounded.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So now they start attacking the Lost Battalion too. The 442nd makes it to the front line on October 28th. Now in hindsight, some of the
I mean, that's just oh my god. Yeah, that explains the characterization he gave us of the commanding officer in charge of this whole thing. Well, we can already see how this is gonna go.
Nisei feel they were sent in particular because they were deemed expendable, and if they all died, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. However, a lot of the other Nisei...
Fuck you, man. How dare you? That is some bullshit. That's how you know this guy does not deserve to be in charge. When you start treating units like they're disposable pawns. It's the most annoying shit. Like, I get it. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made, but it's like, my god, these are still people, man. These are still people. All right? You can't just throw people's lives away, especially when they have utility and some use. You have to think about that rationally, at least a little bit, even if you're just a logic, even if you're only just looking at the logical factors in play. But no, this guy is just like, I don't care how it's done. We're going for broke. We're taking Germany because I want to be the general who makes it first into Germany. Fuck that shit.
Like to believe they were sent in because they were the best. So the 442nd goes in, and it is absolutely brutal. The Germans have minefields all over the fucking place. They have fortified machine gun positions. So the Lost Battalion's up here. The 442nd has to approach from here. There's the German line in between, and then off to the side is Hill 617 that also has a bunch of Germans on it, overlooking the approach to the German line. So they're just getting machine gun fire and mortars rained down on them from absolutely everywhere. For the first 2 days, the 442nd advances like a couple hundred yards. Every time they peek out from behind a tree or stick their head up out of a foxhole, anytime they leave cover, they're getting shot at. They can't move. They're completely pinned down. After 2 days of being essentially paralyzed on the battlefield, the 442nd, the Nisei decide they're going to live up to their motto, go for broke. They're just going to fucking send it. Here's the plan. They've got 3 battalions. They're going to send one of them up to Hill 617. They're going to take that hill, wipe the Germans off the top of it. Then they're going to come back down the hill, rejoin the other 2 battalions, and then they're going to launch a full-on assault and penetrate the German line and save the Texans. 3rd Battalion gets the order. They're going to launch their attack on Hill 617 first, at which point the 3rd Battalion commander grabs his Colt 45 pistol and says, "Okay, boys, let's go." Nobody moves. Nobody wants to get out of their foxhole or poke their head out from behind their tree. If they get up, they're going to get shot. This is absolutely crazy. After that, a couple of moments go by, probably the longest couple of moments in human history. It's just dead quiet. Nobody wants to move. And eventually, 2nd Lieutenant Edward Davis, the last officer in his company, stands up and gets on his feet as all the other Nisei are looking at him like he's crazy. And he turns to his highest ranking NCO, Sergeant Kohashi, and asks him, doesn't order him, he asks him, "Will you go with me?" Sergeant Kohashi leaps up onto his feet, screams a battle cry, and starts running up the hill. And all of the other Nisei do the exact same thing as they have a full frontal assault up this hill. Some of the men even sarcastically screamed "Banzai," both making fun of the Japanese that do this and making fun of the situation as a whole, literally being a smartass in the face of death. They take heavy casualties, but within an hour, they've cleared all the Germans off the top of Hill 617. They then split up that battalion and send some of the companies back down to rejoin the other 2 battalions as they begin their assault towards the German line. And those companies that come down from the hill bring the same energy with them, and they launch another banzai charge straight at the German line. Worth noting, one of the men that was in this charge was Daniel Inouye. Remember the kid we talked about earlier that dropped out of med school to go be part of the 442nd? He is in this charge going in to rescue the Lost Battalion, and as he's charging towards the German line, he gets shot in the chest. But he carries 2 silver dollars in his front breast pocket for good luck, and they literally deflect the bullet and save his life. The 400.
That's fucking mental, bro. You can't tell me shit like this. That is fucking mental. This story is crazy. This shit would only make sense in a fucking movie. You cannot tell me this shit. Oh my god. That is crazy. That is some serious shit. That is insane. That is just insane. That is fucking crazy. That is wild. Oh my god. But that is truly awesome. They literally cooperate. They work together to fucking banzai charge the fuck out of these Germans, and it proves again. It shows again just the strength that vibes have in a complete in these kinds of situations. Right, spirit sometimes is just enough to pull a victory out of thin fucking air. Like, sometimes you just need to be that crazy, that boneheaded, that thick-headed, that dumb fuckery. Just, you need it to be just ballsy enough to be able to just look at a problem and just beat your skull against it. Just charge right into that shit. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my god. And mind you, that charging and doing crazy shit isn't the only thing that the Japanese do when it comes to just having a lot of gumption. It's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things that go into this kinds of shit, right? Sometimes it's just having the balls to stand up against intimidation in itself is a level of awe-inspiring bullshit that is enough to overturn even decisions that seem sensible at the time to suddenly seem questionable. It's all about the character, it's about the vibe, it's about the demeanor in which it is presented. And the Japanese understand this. They are the masters of this type of media, this type of shit. It's why most of their stories focus on warriors, warrior ethics, and honor, as well as just having the balls to do the right thing, even in spite of impossible odds. It is crazy. And this is the kind of shit that I love about anime, because it's an anime, it's in all kinds of stories. Even old samurai films have this kind of, sort of energy to it. And man, is it on display in this. Jesus Christ. But that part with the fucking coins deflecting the bullet, that's just doing the most. That is fucking insane. That is just too crazy. That is so unreal. And I'm not even talking about Engine 5. That shit is mental.
142nd then proceeds to fight and break through the German line, and what happens next is probably one of the coolest moments in human history. Cutting back to the Lost Battalion, they've been surrounded and fighting for their lives for the past 5 days. They're starving, they're dehydrated, they're low on ammunition, and there's this 19-year-old Texan kid in his defensive perimeter with his gun pointed outward, just waiting for the Germans to come and get him. There's fog, there's smoke, he can't see shit, and off in the distance he sees a silhouette approaching, and it's getting closer, and it's getting closer, but the silhouette's not shooting at him, so he doesn't shoot at them. And as it gets closer, he can start to see the person through the smoke, and it's a Japanese guy in an American uniform, Private First Class Matt Sakamoto. And as he gets closer, he stops, and Matt Sakamoto and this young Texan kid are looking at each other, and this Texas kid's lip starts quivering, and he starts tearing up. He's just had his life saved by this Nisei soldier. And then Matt Sakamoto, in the coolest thing ever, just reaches in his pocket and pulls out a package of Lucky Strike cigarettes, one for himself, and goes, "You want to smoke?" And a couple seconds after that, the rest of the Nisei come walking through the smoke, and they've rescued the Lost Battalion. 64 men of the Lost Battalion were killed in combat.
That is fucking crazy. That's awesome, though. That's amazing. See, they are the masters of this kind of shit. They know how to bring the vibes. They do it. They know it. They always do it. I can always count on the Japanese to just bring in the ultimate vibe check when it comes to these types of stories. It's like, what's the best way what's the best, coolest thing we can do in this situation? Just ask the fucking Japanese guy. He'll probably give us something that's at least on par with something that's cool that he's seen in some other fictions or some type of works, right? This kind of shit is amazing. I love this kind of shit. It's so unpatently ridiculous, so ungodly level of just fuck it energy that it demands respect. It commands your attention. And that's the part that I'm going to be really fucking furious about by the end of this, is that if these people do not get venerated and do not get decorated, they do not get the accolades they deserve by the end of this, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. I'm gonna be really fucking annoyed. This shit annoys the fuck out of me, alright? I've played Yakuza, I've watched all kinds of anime, right? And as someone who understands and appreciates the hero getting his just rewards after all of the crap he goes through, this is the kind of shit that would really piss me off if the fucking generals and the American military was just like, you guys did a good job, but now it's time for the dog and pony show to continue. It's like, no, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. These people have worked their asses off. You are going to give them the respect they deserve, or I will fucking resign right here and now.
211 of them were saved by the 442nd. To save those men, the 442nd sustained 800 casualties, 120 dead, and 680 wounded. And it is at this point that a rational person that's maybe never served in the military would ask, is that even worth it? Should they have went in there to rescue them if it costs that much? And the answer is unequivocally yes. And it's not because the Nisei were expendable or that they were worth less than the Texans. It's because nobody's expendable. When you join the United States Army, when you become a soldier, they make you say the Soldier's Creed over and over and over again ad nauseum. And in the Soldier's Creed, it says, I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. And those aren't just words that they make you say because they sound good. No, it's a promise to the person to the left and the right of you that no matter how bad shit gets, we're going to come to get you because you're one of us. You're not just some number on a spreadsheet that we can plug into a mathematical calculation and determine if you're worth saving or not. No, you're an American soldier and we're coming to fucking get you.
You're goddamn right.
And there's never been a better embodiment of this principle than the 442nd rescuing the Lost Battalion. Because not only did they live up to the ideal of you're one of us, we're coming to get you no matter what, they also, in doing so, proved that they are one of them. The Nisei, the outsiders, the Japanese that nobody can trust, proved irrefutably that they're not Japanese, they're not outsiders, they're just Americans. They're one of us.
Fucking men to that shit. That is crazy. That is awesome. That is amazing. I will never get over this. I'm gonna be inspired for the rest of my fucking day. This shit is great. Oh my god. This story is wild. I love it. And it's only gonna get either worse or better from here. Most likely worse. Knowing reality, knowing history, it's only ever gonna get worse. But goddamn, that is awe-inspiring. That is some commendable shit right there. Fucking that is crazy. Let's fucking go. And they did it, and he was pointing out exactly what I was saying earlier, right? About no soldier gets left behind. Not necessarily word for word of that, but I was saying the same thing. Just like, hey, don't treat your soldiers like they're expendable. All right, these people fight on behalf of you and the rest of the country. Okay, they're not just fodder. They're not just expendable. These are fucking people. These are soldiers. Okay, they are trained to do the most. And if you're not going to treat them with the level of respect that they are deserving of, and if you're not going to give them tasks that are actually something that American soldiers could feasibly handle without dying in large swaths and numbers, you're just a fucking shithead. You're just a terrible commander. Fuck off. Like, what the hell is this? It's amazing that they pulled out this W in spite of all the costs, but Jesus Christ, that commander should absolutely be taken to task for this shit. I cannot believe he allowed this shit to happen. And on top of that, he made strategic blunders that cost the regiments, as well as the Texans, so much horseshit because of his stupidity. I would fucking bury this guy in all manner of bullfuckery. I would make this guy's name the most disgusting thing under the sun because of shit like this. I fucking hate that kind of crap. Oh yeah, I want to be the first guy to do this. How about you be the first guy to shut the fuck up and just do your goddamn job and not bother about focusing on too much on glory or whatever have you. Accolades are only as strong as the person behind it, motherfucker. Pins and badges are only as great as the person who carries them. Eat shit, you fat fucking reject. I hate this shit, man. I'm getting a little petty now.
Okay, now, finally, after getting pulled off of R&R almost immediately to go save the day and rescue the Lost Battalion, they are then finally sent to southern France where they can actually have some R&R. And from November till March, they're on a security detail that's relatively low impact. They get to rest, recuperate, they get their ranks replenished, and this is referred to as the Champagne Campaign. Then in April of 1945, the Allied forces finally make it to the German Gothic Line, their last ditch effort of defenses inside of Italy. It is heavily fortified, and like everything else the Germans made, it's believed to be impenetrable.
That's actually hilarious.
So the Allied
This guy
forces
watched
called
Scott
up the
Pilgrim.
18. They bring in the 442nd. Nothing has fucking stopped these guys
Oh,
yet.
man.
This probably isn't going to stop them either. And because they're the best guys, they're going to get the toughest mission. They are assigned to attack one of the mountain strong points of the entire Gothic line. Literally, the most impenetrable part, that's where the 442nd is going to attack. Now, the reason the chain of command did this is they wanted to use the 442nd as a diversionary attack, right? They're going to have the 442nd attack this super strong point. That way, the Germans are going to send all of their reinforcement troops to this strong point to hold that point, right? And then once all the reserve troops are there fighting the 442nd, because these guys aren't going to give up, and hell, they might win anyways, they're going to be able to attack a weaker part in the Gothic line and punch through. However, nobody told the 442nd that, so the 442nd treats it not as a diversionary attack, but as a main attack, and they punch through the strongest point with reinforcements anyways in a single day.
You planned.
God damn.
It worked.
God damn. That is some serious fucking balls, man. And not just that. That is just fucking absolute strength. That is sheer fucking ferocity. That is a goddamn fast-moving train. That is a... What is the fucking Maxor quote? It is like a monster truck made of lead coming right at you. They have this shit on lock. This shit is crazy. All right, these guys have been through a lot, but my God, that is just that they are just fucking crazy. They are just wicked. These people, I am convinced, this is who Kazuma was born from. All right, that when the Kazuma was born, it was because the people from this regiment got together with probably some dame somewhere. And Kazuma was born from this meeting. There is no fucking way on God's green earth you can convince me this is not just fucking balls deep. Just sheer badass ferocity. Just unfettered, unquenchable, unsatiated ferocity just in motion. This is not just nature running its course. This is just crazy. My God. These people are absolutely crazy. I cannot imagine them not getting accolades. I know they're not going to get the real fucking recognition that they deserve, but oh my God, these people are amazing. I get inspired just listening to this shit. God. I cannot help but stop and pause in awe. It's amazing.
During that attack on April 1st, 1945, the main character that's been
have
there
to
all
think
along
about it.
would finally emerge.
Oh,
Daniel
man.
Inouye, the 18-year-old kid that dropped out of medical school and put his dreams of becoming a surgeon on hold to go off and fight for his country. Daniel Inouye, the guy that helped save the Lost Battalion and had his life...
Like a true Naruto character, we have to go through at least 40 to 30 minutes of fucking side characters before we see the main character finally make his play. It is awesome. This is just astonishing. He really built this up like a shonen manga. God damn it. The Fat Electrician is a storyteller of all time, and I don't even think he knew it. I don't think he even understood the goddamn play he was doing. And that's how you know the mark of a great storyteller. That shit is crazy.
Saved by $2 silver when he was shot in the chest, had ended up getting promoted in the field to a lieutenant and was now leading an entire platoon. During the attack on the Gothic line, Daniel Inouye's platoon gets pinned down by 3 German machine gun nests with MG-42s, the most terrifying machine gun of World War II. With his entire company pinned down, Daniel decides that he's going to live up to the unit motto of go for broke, and he's going to do some gangster shit. Advancing by himself, he gets shot in the stomach, fights through it, gets to the German machine gun nest, hits it with a grenade, blows it up, immediately shifts to go to the next German machine gun nest, makes it all the way there, throws another grenade in that one, takes out the Germans there as well. He then crawls up to the 3rd German machine gun nest, gets within 10 yards, grabs his grenade, pulls the pin, he's just holding down the spoon, winds back to throw it, and the German inside the nest shoots him with an anti-personnel grenade that hits him directly in the elbow. He was so close that the grenade didn't have time to arm itself, and it is just the blunt force trauma of a massive grenade flying at him that severs the majority of his arm. His men immediately leap up to help him, but he screams at them to stay under cover because he's worried that that arm that he's not in control of anymore is going to relax and let go of the spoon on that grenade and kill him and even more of his men, so he orders them to stay back. In his own words, and I quote, "I looked at my right hand and it was gone. The grenade was still there, clenched in a fist that suddenly wasn't a part of me anymore. I pried it out with my left hand and threw it." That grenade hits its target, and Daniel Inouye has just taken out a third German machine gun nest, both left-handed and single-handedly, literally. He then gets to his feet and continues advancing on the German position, killing at least one more German with his Thompson submachine gun before getting shot in the leg and collapsing to the ground unconscious. He then wakes back up flat on his back, looking up at his men who are looking down at him, and he hits them with the hardest line in military history, and I quote, "Nobody called off the war," literally telling his dudes, quit worrying about me and assault the fucking objective.
This is fucking gangster shit indeed. My god, the anime protagonist really has shown himself. What a fucking boss. Oh my god, this is a fucking video of all time. I have to see reactions of this. I haven't seen any reactions of this. I have to see reactions of this. This shit is so fire. Why is this so good? Oh my god. I am losing my fucking mind. The guy literally fucking takes the grenade out of his left hand after it just got lobbed off by a fucking high impacting grenade that didn't even blow up. It just completely took his arm off, and then he takes the grenade, he rips it out of the dead hand of his other hand and just chucks that son of a bitch after he just got shot in the stomach and getting lit up a little bit, and then proceeds to throw grenades at all of these other bunkers, lights their asses up, and then he goes to this last one just for this shit to happen. It's fucking crazy. His shit is wild. Oh my god. Fucking, this shit is amazing, man. This shit is amazing. God damn it. If I saw shit like this, if I heard shit like this in my office, I would be fucking foaming at the mouth as if I'm waiting to see, oh my god, I can't wait to see what crazy shit these people do next. This shit is wild. I would be absolutely, if I was a commander, if I was somebody who was hearing stories about this type of shit from a unit, I would be begging. I would just be absolutely just enthralled at the idea of meeting these soldiers made of some sterner stuff, and just look at them and just feel like, so this is what it's like to be in the presence of truly dragons among men, just truly fucking terrifying individuals, just truly metal upon metal. Like, these guys are so metal, they don't have a periodic table, they are the fucking table. God damn it, these guys are fucking awesome. I wish we could get stories like this in fucking media. God, this shit would be so cool. Imagine playing out stories like this in other fucking works of fiction, or even in just like just historical reenactment. Hell, in actual Call of Duty games where they choose to reenact, like they used to reenact scenes that were told to them, moments that happened in actual fucking history, like the fucking franchise was based on and predicated on, in actual video game format. That shit would be so fucking wild. It'd be so gnarly. And Activision is totally sitting on it. They're sitting on it. They're sitting on it harder than fucking Bobby Kotick was with the fucking goddamn maternal milk. I get... Fucking, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I can't even think straight. This shit is so mental. It's so wild. It's so crazy. Oh my god.
And as if that wasn't gangster enough, Daniel Inouye is then rushed to the rear where he receives emergency medical treatment and has to get his arm amputated in the field completely sober. He had already received too much morphine in the field, they couldn't give him any more without killing him, and they don't have anesthesia on the front lines in World War II, so they just had to cut it off while he was awake. While that's going While that's going on, Inouye's men and the rest of the
I was confused.
442nd go on a German ass-kicking extravaganza. Over the course of the next week, they liberate like 5 towns, a concentration camp, they secure key roads, they cut off German supply lines, they're forcing Germans to surrender left and right. The 442nd is advancing so fast that American supply lines can't even keep up, and they're forced to operate on whatever they confiscate from the Germans that they kill or surrender to them. Then on May 2nd, 1945, the German forces inside of Italy surrender. 5 days after that, May 7th, 1945, all of Germany surrenders, and World War II for the 442nd is over.
This is some Castle Wolfenstein shit. This is Doomslayer level energy. These motherfuckers are fucking BJ Blazkowicz. They are just absolute destruction incarnate. I fucking love it. This story is amazing. Oh my god, I really am getting set up for the fall for this. I'm gonna be so irritated. I just know it.
When all was said and done, approximately 18,000 men fought in the 442nd Infantry Regiment. And those 18,000 men were awarded more than 18,000 medals, making them the most decorated unit in U.S. military history for their size and tenure. A few of those medals include 8 Presidential Unit Citations, which is like the Medal of Honor for a military unit, and they earned 5 of them in a single month. 21 Medals of Honor, 29 Distinguished Service Crosses, somewhere between 360 and 600 Silver Stars, 4,000 Bronze Stars, and 9,486 Purple Hearts. And
these motherfuckers were earning medals like they were grinding for achievements. Holy shit. This is so fucking cool, my god. These guys earned the most medals. That's actually insane. I was expecting this shit to go sideways. God damn it. They earned so many medals. That's actually amazing. That's astonishing even. I cannot believe the military must have been paying attention to this. I mean, I certainly would have fucking been paying attention to this. If I heard any half of the crazy shit I was hearing from this story, I would be like, hey guys, I know we're in the middle of a strategy and meeting and everything, right? We're currently plotting out a course on how we're gonna assault this base and all that. Have you fucking heard of the 442nd Division? Have you heard about these guys? Dude, look at this report. This shit is crazy. They're just like, oh my god, how the fuck did they do this? Just like, I'll fucking know, but I want to know. Then they learn about it. They're just like, this shit is mental. We have to get these soldiers awarded. It's just, we can't. It's unconscionable. We can't even begin to think of a possibility where these people don't get at least every medal under the goddamn sun.
And that is the story of the Nisei, the Americans that made up the 442nd Infantry Regiment that had every excuse in the world to hate America and chose to love and fight for it anyways. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
You fought not only the enemy, but you fought prejudice, and you've won. Keep up that fight, and we'll continue to win. To make this great republic stand for just what its Constitution says it stands for, the welfare of all the people, all the time.
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, Daniel Inouye, the main character. Yeah, so he made a full recovery. He survived World.
He forgets about the main character. Of course he did. Of course he did. You know, every main character in anime is forgettable. God, this guy is on point. Even now, he's still on point. Congratulations. He's the Daniel Inouye, man. He is literally the Naruto of this story.
World War II. Not only that, he goes back home, and you can't exactly be a surgeon with one hand. So Daniel Inouye gets involved in politics, graduates college, ends up becoming one of the government representatives for the United States territory of Hawaii. He is then instrumental in Hawaii becoming a state, and once Hawaii becomes a state, he then becomes Hawaii's state senator until he passes away in 2012. Now, I realize that I've just glorified a politician, and that's inevitably going to rub somebody the wrong way for some reason, and to be honest, I've intentionally avoided looking at his political career while researching for this video. I genuinely have no idea right now whether that man was a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, something in between. I have no idea. But here's what I do know. Regardless of what his politics were, I have the utmost confidence that that's the type of dude that I want in a leadership position, because at the end of the day, I have absolute confidence that he wants what's best for the country and not what's best for his party, which is extremely hard to find in a politician. So yeah, thanks for watching. I really hope I did that story justice. See you later.
On the day I left to put on the uniform, and so he accompanied me on the streetcar, sitting side by side, and both of us looking straight ahead, and nothing is said until we get close to the destination. When we know that the streetcar is going to stop, he clears his throat and he says, "This country has been good to us. It has given me jobs. It has made it possible for you to go to school. We have lived a good life. We owe a lot to the country. Therefore, if you must give your life, so be it. But whatever you do not dishonor the family. Do not dishonor the country." It appears that this was an important part of the Nisei's, as you put it, value system. Because I recall very vividly the night before we began our first attack. So that following morning, I sat down and said, "By the way, what were you people thinking about last night? I'm just curious." After a while, one of them popped up and he said, "I was praying that I don't be a coward." And the next one said, "Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing." Everyone said the same thing in different ways. Do not dishonor the family, right? So here, these are the men who work in the plantations, who work in the fields, men who volunteered from the camps, because they were a mixture of Kotonks and us. And every one of them, whether they were in Montana, Wyoming, or Arizona, or Honolulu, came out with the same thing.
That shit is so wild. I'm fucking losing my mind. I'm still reeling. That shit is amazing. These guys were so fucking great. I cannot believe this is a story that I never heard of. Not even schools teach this shit. This is the part that also pisses me off in retrospect. It's like, why the fuck did I get to hear stories about this shit? This shit is so awesome. It deserves to be put in the history books. And yet they don't do that. That's fucking annoying. God damn. I'm not gonna get over this. This is I thought my pancreas video about that about his 14-minute rant about the differences between fantasy and 40K Warhammer and among other things was the video that was gonna be my biggest fucking like issue. Well, not really issue, but it was gonna be like the thing that was gonna take the fucking cake for this stream, for this list of videos. Oh my god, this shit is amazing. These guys, I can't believe half the shit I heard, and then the shit that I did hear, I was like, I can totally see it happening, only because I know the people who are behind it. It is crazy. This shit is amazing. I cannot stress enough how pickled I am. It is awesome. This story was so cool. These guys have my utmost respect. I have never heard of a more metal story than this. I bet their grandkids are probably equally just as in awe, if not proud, to hear about their grandfather's achievements. That shit must be just like, yeah, that was my grandfather. He did that. Isn't he fucking cool? Like, that's like, that shit, yeah, that shit your kids would be proud to talk about. God, that shit is amazing. Oh my god. It's so fucking cool. And it's so funny to hear it too, echoed by Daniel himself. Just like, yeah, it was like we were just afraid to dishonor the family. We love and respected the country. They gave us all these opportunities, all this ability to be ourselves, to make something of ourselves, to essentially just be, happily law-abiding Americans. And then when our faith was put into question, and it came time to prove our loyalty and our ability to perform was put into question, well, we did the utmost. And it's like, half of the shit, I don't even think you deserved even nearly the level of scrutiny that you got. That shit is crazy. Like, I was sold the moment they literally I have to unpack this. This shit, I'm so fucking tripped out. I'm so tripped out. This is gonna be a gnarly video, and it's not even because I have interesting things to say about it. It's just gonna be me losing my fucking mind. Oh my god. The 442nd Infantry, some of them being originally the 100th Infantry Division, these guys are just amazing. And Daniel's story was just as awesome. And the way that the Fat Electrician told this story was pretty keen, was pretty on par. This guy literally told this story like a shonen manga. What a goddamn... This guy is a real professional. He doesn't even know it. He's just sleeping on it. He's sleeping on the fact that he is a real storyteller. Man, this is the kind of shit I wish I could do in my own time. I could probably write a script similar to this. I don't think I could capture nearly the same level of gravitas that he had on display for this. But granted, the source material was fucking king. This shit was great. I don't think even I could give it the same level of grandeur. My god. I need to sit on this, man. I need to sit on this. This was a story of all time. God. But yeah, that was the 442nd Infantry, the most decorated unit of WW2, the American Samurai by the Fat Electrician. Oh my god. Go watch and support the original video. I'm going to be leaving descriptions. I'm going to be leaving links in the descriptions of this VOD, as well as the short VODs that I'll be making after. Just go support the original video. This shit is wild. Oh my god. I cannot believe this story. It is so mental. Motherfuckers literally charged. They did bonsai charges at their lowest point, and then proceeded to do that again and again at every other front, showing that zeal is definitely just as powerful as any fucking American-made weapon. And then, just when you think it couldn't get more awesome, right? The collaboration between other units, the respect between the commanders and the generals who happen to be in charge of these people, and the absolute sheer camaraderie between the traditional American units versus the Japanese units is amazing to behold. And on top of all of that shit, right, the fucking Daniel story was peak on top of everything else. And I will agree with one thing. He has absolutely right about this. Daniel growing up to be a politician, it does not fucking matter. It really doesn't. Like, if I heard a story like this coming from a politician who is sitting in office or is currently sitting in office, and he literally did all this kind of shit, I don't care if he's a Democrat. I don't care if he's a fucking Republican. I don't fucking care if he's a goddamn fucking Nazi. That guy literally did the craziest shit, the most gnarliest of shit, and I would want him in office. Now, I would look at this guy and be like, you know what? Fuck it. Take a seat, my guy. You earned this. You earned this table. This is the kind of politicians I wish we had. All right? If it isn't Cassius motherfucking Clay, it is Daniel Inoue. What a fucking boss. These guys are Chad among Chads. They are men among men. I would fucking love to see more people like this in office. In fact, maybe we should have more soldiers as politicians. Although that would probably be equally just as kind of crazy, because they're probably not going to be the most appropriate of politicians, most of them. But god damn it, that I would love to see I would love to see anyone else in position of power that isn't the fucking old fogies, the absolute boomer generation that is currently in office. Like the fucking I need to stop. I need to stop. Anyways, point being, these guys were fucking good. They're crazy. They were borderline insane in some instances, but oh my god, did they rise to the challenge, and god, did they meet it. They came in with the zest. They came in with the sauce. They came in with the zeal, and they performed. Oh god, did they deliver too. Like, they didn't just see the task at hand. They did it, and they did it to not just to the letter, but they did it above and beyond the Call of Duty. They pulled out a W out of sheer fucking tenacity and ferocity of their charges. That shit is amazing. And they didn't even just do like one or two of these charges. They did multiple. And if that wasn't even more crazy, right? You know, like, these motherfuckers did it not just out of sheer out of sheer righteous fury. These motherfuckers did it just because they were asked to do it, and because they didn't even care if it was expected that they would win. They did it just because they could. They saw the challenge and they rose to meet it. That shit is awesome. I don't think there's anything I could possibly say that could do this story justice. It's so crazy. I cannot believe it is real. I am losing my goddamn mind. Ugh. Anyways, I need to stop. I need to stop. I need to stop. I need to stop doing this. I need to move on. Okay. God. Anyways, all right, that was a much needed break from Warhammer for like a solid second.